Hey guys, welcome back. I am not working on the wrap today. I did want to wait until I completely finished the wrap series to start something else, but sometimes things just fall on your lap and you have no choice. So this, I'm sure many of you guys are familiar with, is a GenuineSAAB short shifter. It is not a new unit, it's a used one. I got it for pretty much free. Don't ask me how I get all these free things, but I have it and it's here. It's pretty simple to install, if anything just kind of time consuming, so let's get right into it. But first, it's time for the third Saab Spotlight. It's my pleasure to introduce Shane to Saab Spotlight. I've known Shane through social media for a few years. His Instagram page first drew me in because 1, his 9.5 is almost identical to mine, and 2, I noticed his photos were a cut above the rest. Come to find out, he is a professional photographer. Shane's Saab journey began just a few years ago when he was working for Enterprise running a shuttle to pick up clients at the nearest GM dealership. He's always seen Saabs parked in the back, and the style of the 9.3s always sparked his interest and caught his eye. So eventually he picked up a 2004 9.3 ARC with a Stage 2 ECU tune. He loved it for being super fun, and with it being lowered on BC coilovers, it always turned heads. Unfortunately, it had a few hiccups and he had to let it go, but now he's back in a 9.5. Shane loves the 9.5 even more because of its sleek styling, and he says that it's got one of the best body lines ever, which of course I agree with. Another reason it sparked his interest was the fact that the brand technically didn't exist anymore, and the cherry on top is that his grandfather used to have a classic 900 SPG. So we know where Shane's good tastes come from. Shane's 9.5 is mostly stock, except it's lowered on Maptune lowering springs and Bilstein B4s. It's got the important essentials like the 5-speed manual transmission and the double Ys. They look so good, and I can't think of a better OEM Saab wheel for a 9.5 than these double Ys. The wheels, the drop, and the dark window tint is a killer combo, and I absolutely love it. Otherwise, his 9.5 is super clean and very well kept. Shane's dream Saab is a 9.3 Viggen, just like me, and hopefully we'll be rocking a pair of Viggens together in the near future. Thanks Shane for sharing your Saab journey with us. We'll be looking forward to how your 9.5 evolves. If you guys want to see more of Shane's clean 9.5, go to his Instagram and YouTube channel and give him a follow. And now let's get back to the short shifter install. So looking at the shifter, the overall condition is quite good. It's a mechanical piece, so there isn't much to go wrong here. If it moves well, then it probably works well too. GenuineSAAB sells this short shifter in 2 ways. First is the complete kit, including the entire shifter assembly. You can choose to send in your stock shifter assembly and get it back with the short shifter installed in it, or you can just order the entire shifter with the short shifter already installed, and then after you get it, send in your stock one for a core exchange refund. This means there will be no downtime. The second option is the outright kit, where they send you just the short shifter piece and you install it yourself. This requires drilling out the opening to fit the new shifter assembly, which is a little bit bigger. In this video, this will be as if I got the first option, which is the complete kit. So I'll be showing how to remove the stock shifter assembly, installing the new one, and some of my own feedback. Obviously, I didn't get this directly from GenuineSAAB, so it'll be an honest review about a used unit, so keep that in mind. The first step is to remove the center console. I have detailed instructions on how to do this on one of my earlier videos, so if you need help with that, check out that video. After removing the top of the console, there are 2 screws at the rear, 2 on the driver's side, and oddly enough, just 1 on the passenger side. Then you should be able to pull it back and loosen the rear air duct. A good way to figure out what needs to be loosened in the car is to look at this piece. So obviously there's 4 on each side, and then these 3 here. It looks like 4 torque screws, and then 3 I don't know, that kind of looks like a 8mm or 10 maybe, 10 or 8mm, and we'll go from there. So a slight miscalculation here. I removed these 3 10mm, but in order to move this shifter up to disconnect the shift linkage, I have to remove these here. And the next thing to remove is this wire. It's held on, it looks like it's held on by that plastic clip, so I hope I don't break that. And actually this clip here now is pretty accessible. See if I can do this with one hand. So close. There we go. Okay, so that's what it looks like. So you have to squeeze these two sides and it'll come out. The next one to remove is kind of hard to film, but you should be able to lift the shifter assembly up enough to get access to that yellow harness right there, and that's the ignition harness, I think. And so that is what's holding the assembly down, so you have to disconnect that. Once I can get a better camera angle, I can show you how you remove it. And while I have a good view, here's what the harness looks like. So you have to pull down on this little tab and then pull it out. And actually you can see from the passenger side the bolt that you have to remove, which is focus, yeah, right there. So somehow gotta get an extension up there and loosen that. So I was able to scour my toolbox for this combination. I think this could work. Let's see. Yes. That gave me a lot of trouble, but finally we can take it out. There we go. Oh yes. Ugh. Okay, so here's a little side-by-side view of the stock and the short shifter. Quick disclaimer, this stock rod is much shorter because I had to cut it to put the aftermarket shift knob on. But usually the rod is the same length. Fun fact, Nick at GenuineSAAB showed me these pictures of the newer batches where the shift rod is solid as opposed to the hollow ones from the stock ones and the earlier batches. Nick said that this upgrade was done because some of the shift rods in the race car Saabs were breaking during hard shifting. It's so good to know that the manufacturer listens and cares about their product and is making constant upgrades. So this black thing is the mechanism that forces you to put the car in reverse to take the key out, and a lot of people during this install, they choose to remove this whole thing. This is me from the future, and one thing I forgot to mention during this assembly was that all of this crap is held on by this spring, and you have to press on the spring right there to release the spring, and then you can take out all the crap. So back to the video, and that's held on by that screw right there, and then there's one more right here. Careful not to break that. I almost did. But yeah, now everything should come off. This is the ignition, and now there's nothing but the assembly in there. So for those who are curious, that is how the stock shifter works. Okay, so this entire thing is the shift to reverse to take the key out function. So it's held on by this ball joint here. You can just take it out. And then this, on the GenuineSAAB installation PDF, they left this on here. So that's what I'm gonna do too. So now it's time for reassembly. Pretty simple. Take the ignition barrel and put it in. And then tighten the two torque screws. This part is supposed to come off with the top portion of this whole ignition thing cover, but mine is, I think, broken. That's why it didn't come off. So, and now is the hard part. We're gonna go back into the car and try to get this back on in there. I know it's gonna be a pain in the butt, so we'll see how this goes. So the first thing to do is get this rod through this opening right there. And then you have to connect the ignition harness, this thing. There's this rubber grommet thing you'll see. It's not in camera, but you'll see what I mean. You gotta put that in too.
Hello.
Hey. Now it's a matter of aligning the shift rod and the other shift rod and securing it with this bolt. I doubt I'm gonna get it on camera because it's just hard to film, but I think you guys get the idea. Thankfully, whoever had this last, they drilled a hole here because the stock one doesn't have a hole. This is actually recommended by GenuineSAAB to drill out the hole here so you can tighten this bolt much easier. Alright, so I think I got it in there. The best way to do it is make sure to put this whole shifter as vertically as possible. Big rod and so the big rod here and the thing aligns like this, because if it's not perfectly vertical, it's gonna go like this and it won't line up. So make sure it's vertical. Okay, I think that's good. Before I put all the trim stuff back together, I'm gonna bolt this in and then see how it shifts, just to test it. This immediately feels so much better. Yeah, this is awesome. So I'm gonna put all this back together and then it's time for driving impressions. As soon as I began driving, I immediately felt more precise shifts, and the throw, no doubt, was much shorter than before. I did notice, however, that it's harder to put in reverse for some reason. I think that might be an issue with my car though, because that happened from time to time even with the stock shifter. And now that the shifter is more precise, I think it magnified that issue. I might be completely wrong on that, but it's not enough to affect everyday driving, so I'm okay with that. The side to side movement got shorter as well, which I really like. And lastly, when I go from first to second and third to fourth, there seems to be a more audible clunk. It feels like there's no dampening when the gear goes in. I read online where others had the same issue and they resolved it by putting some sound deadening on there. This also varies by car because every car's shifter condition and position is slightly different. Overall, this product is excellent, and I think from now on, every time I get another Saab, I'll be installing this short shifter on all of them. I hope this video was clear, but if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment down below and I'll try my best to answer them. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. And randomly, these lights just came on. My car's been sitting with the dead battery for a while, so I think that's why. Gotta love Saab.